Democrats and the mainstream media are so desperate to paint President Trump's second term as an abject failure that they're twisting and taking economic data out of context. In fact, NBC's Kristen Welker attempted to ambush President Trump's Treasury Secretary with cherry-picked statistics, but she found out that you can't stump Scott Bessent.
If things are so bad, why was the GDP 3.3%? Why is the stock market at a new high? Because, with President Trump, we care both about big companies and small companies, and you're quoting big companies, but the big company index, the S&P, is at a new high.
Hasbro says they're going to have to increase their prices. Goldman Sachs says 86% of the tariff revenue collected so far has been paid by American businesses and consumers. So just bottom line, Mr. Secretary, do you acknowledge that these tariffs are a tax on American consumers?
No, I don't.
Even though you have companies saying they are going to have to increase prices, and given the fact that 86% of these tariffs so far have been paid by Americans.
You're quoting Goldman Sachs. So
yes, Goldman Sachs, correct.
I made a good career trading against Goldman Sachs.
Okay.
Talk about a total mic drop moment right there, and that's 100% true. Scott Bessent's net worth, by the way, is approaching $600 million. He made all of that money as a hedge fund manager, and as he said, he did bet a lot against Goldman Sachs. Look, Scott Bessent is everything that the Democrats and the mainstream media just absolutely hate, right? Because he breaks all of their stereotypes. He has become very successful. He didn't, from what I understand, come from money. He's highly educated. He went to Yale. Supposedly, conservatives and Trump supporters are, uneducated. They didn't go to college. They don't know anything. Scott Bessent is a gay male. He supports President Trump and is serving in Trump's administration, right? So he literally breaks virtually every stereotype that the left says, and right there, just a complete masterclass. Now, look, it would be one thing if Scott Bessent had mic drop after mic drop. Yes, that would be great, but it gets even better because Kristen Welker had no idea what she was talking about, and Scott Bessent actually had to school her on the process of how interest rates are set. Keep in mind, she's the one conducting this interview.
Bottom line, Mr. Secretary, will the Fed chair set interest rates, or will President Trump?
The Fed chair doesn't set interest rates. The FOMC sets interest rates. So it is a board.
Should President Trump have a say?
And the President Trump is going to make his views known, just like President Biden did. President Biden in the State of the Union, his last State of the Union, said he thought there was going to be an interest rate cut. Senator Warren called for a 75 basis interest rate cut this year.
Look, if you're going to conduct an interview, you should at least know the basic facts. You should at least know the process of how things work, because it just makes you look bad and incompetent when your guest has to correct you on the record. Wouldn't you want your guest to actually give insights into the process, give insights into what the American people can expect about what's around the corner? But instead, Scott Bessent had to spend those 30 seconds schooling Kristen Welker on how interest rates are actually set. Now, look, to be fair to the Democrats, the economy does have a lot of mixed signals right now. We're nowhere close. We're nowhere near to the zenith of the golden age. I believe we're right at the very beginning. And keep in mind, it takes a long time to right the ship. The United States is a massive economy, and you can't right a ship like that immediately. It took 4 years of Joe Biden to derail the economy, to open the borders and basically flood the zone, and it's going to take a long time to fix all of those issues. Now, even though there's mixed economic data, I think most of us would say that life is better today, or at least it's not getting worse like it was under Joe Biden. All during Joe Biden's presidency, prices were going up, gas prices were just unpredictable through the roof. And this summer, summer is on the verge of ending, and gas prices were nowhere near as bad as they were under Joe Biden. Grocery prices are at least manageable. At least we can catch our breath financially. But look, there is some mixed economic data. One of the numbers that's really disappointing is the jobs report that came out for August. And a lot of people were paying attention to that because President Trump had fired the BLS secretary, and a lot of people wondered, hey, is the Trump administration going to cook the numbers? The answer clearly is no, because the numbers are worse than what everyone thought, what everyone hoped for. Scott Bessent actually made a really good point about this.
Look, we're not going to do economic policy off of one number. We believe that good policies are in place that are going to create good, high-paying jobs for the American people. Two, let's look at the efficacy of this number. August is the noisiest month of the year. Typically, the highest revisions come in August. That's why it's important that we have good data. Austin Goolsbee, who's head of the Chicago Fed and probably the most partisan person at the Federal Reserve in leadership, came out and said, I don't know if these numbers were that weak. I don't know if I'm going to vote for a cut in September because it may have something to do with the immigration deportations. So this is why we need good data. Three, if in fact these numbers are true, it shows that President Trump was right about the Federal Reserve. They are too late. And because of the bad numbers, they likely would have been cutting in June. And if we believe the numbers, and four, I can tell you the one thing this administration is not going to do, and we are not going to let the Democrat media surrogates do, is during President Biden, President Harris's campaign, they told the American people, it's a vibe session. You don't understand how good you have it. President Trump was elected for change, and we are going to push through with the economic policies that are going to set the economy right. I believe by the fourth quarter, we're going to see a substantial acceleration.
I absolutely love that answer because there's no gaslighting there. He references the vibe session. It's not as if the administration is trying to manipulate what August job numbers actually mean. He just brings up a good point and says, hey, August usually is a slow month, which historically is true. On top of that, I would like to point out that I believe there's another issue, another factor that a lot of people aren't talking about. Now, I'm sure they're talking about this behind the scenes in Washington, D.C., but as far as commentators, as far as the media, I'm not seeing this talked about, and it's AI. We know that AI is automating a lot of jobs. It's making a lot of jobs more efficient. So how is that affecting what the job market is looking like? Why would employers hire new people when they can, have their employees become more efficient with tools like AI? With all of that being said, don't forget what the initial question was. The question was about interest rates and who sets them. Well, the high interest rates are a tool used by the Federal Reserve to try to tame inflation, but there is a downside to that. High interest rates mean higher rates on loans for companies, and that makes it harder for them to expand, harder for them to invest and hire new people. So it actually is a double-edged sword, right? Because you can accomplish one thing, you can tame inflation, but you actually also hurt the private sector, you hurt the economy, and you hurt those who are looking for jobs. In fact, even the New York Times, as leftist as they are, they're admitting this. And just 2 days ago, they're now pushing for the Fed to cut interest rates. Weak jobs report strengthens case for rate cuts. A reduction at the Federal Reserve's next meeting this month looks all but assured after August's labor market data. So what Scott Bessent said there appears to be true, that President Trump was ahead of the curve and the Fed was too slow to act. Now, this isn't Scott Bessent's first time on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. He actually appeared on the show way back in April, and the last time he was on, the entire media, the entire left wing was in an uproar. They were in panic mode. The sky is falling over tariffs. And Scott brought that back, and he basically said, you guys were panicked. Things appear to be pretty fine right now.
Let's look back. Again, when I was here in April, the sky was falling with the tariffs, that everyone is leaving the U.S. Since then, the U.S. bond market has been the best performing bond market in the developed world. And from Barclays Bank to Goldman Sachs to others are saying it is the tariff income and the fiscal improvement that we are seeing. And that's what President Trump is talking about.
Now, there's one factor in all of this that we haven't touched, and it may seem completely unrelated to the economy, and that topic is illegal immigration. But could these deportations, could these mass raids and arrests, could President Trump's border policy actually be temporarily hurting economic numbers before leading to a rebound? We'll get to that in a moment, but first I would like to acknowledge RL 1401, Shine On 83, Dr. K, Chase Your Dreams, Listen to You, Jenda Manuro, Killer GMA, Jeremy 2001 Happy as the members of today's Governor's Club. Again, thank you RL for the very generous gift. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel channel. I appreciate all of you, and I'm glad that you're here. Well, Kristen Welker attempted to hit Scott with another cherry pick statistic. He called her out on that, and it'll lead up to the very last clip here. Just enjoy this moment.
Let's keep moving, though, because I want to talk about what U.S. companies are saying right now, Mr. Secretary. The New York Times wrote this about John Deere, the impact that tariffs are having on that company. Quote, last month, John Deere said net income in its most recent quarter was down 29% from a year earlier. Higher tariffs have cost the company $300 million so far, with nearly another $300 million expected by the end of the year. This summer, the company laid off 238 employees across factories in Illinois and Iowa. What do you say to companies like John Deere who say these tariffs are hurting them?
Well, first of all, Kristen, if you're quoting the New York Times, that's not a fair observer. And two,
but these are statistics.
That's
this is about John Deere, not about the New York Times.
That's one company that they have cherry picked. At Treasury, we have about 2 management teams come through a day, and overwhelmingly, we are hearing from companies they plan to increase capex, they plan to increase employment. We are seeing what's going to be a record amount of foreign direct investment. And for every John Deere, we have companies who are telling us the tariffs have helped our business. We're increasing capex, and we're going to increase employment.
By the way, on top of all of this, let's not forget that the United States is not alone in the world. Take a look at Europe's economic numbers or Asia's. The entire world has been suffering for the last few years, yet the United States has been recovering more quickly economically under President Trump's leadership. So yes, that does indicate, yes, that is proof that there is something right in his policy agenda there. Now, again, this comes back to illegal immigration as well. Just yesterday, we found out that ICE raided Hyundai, and they discovered apparently 300 to 400 illegal immigrants working at one of their plants. Now, it's not just Hyundai. Across the nation, ICE has been raiding different places, including places of work, farms, factories, and the southern border has also been shut, and people are being turned away and sent back home. So that raises the question, what impact, if any, does President Trump's border policy have on our economic data? And could it be sort of slowing down the economic growth that's about to come? Scott Bessent had great insight on this.
You know, the economy did add nearly 500,000 manufacturing jobs under former President Biden. In this case, since April, again, you're actually losing manufacturing jobs. Is that problematic for your policy?
Well, a couple of things, Chris. We're going to get the revisions for last year next week, and there may be as big as an 800,000 job downward revision. Again, this would be the second downward revision, so I'm not sure what these people who collect the data have been doing. It's good. We need good data. Secondly, what we are seeing is the jobs that are being created are going to either native-born or legal Americans. Most of the jobs created under the Biden administration, they went to illegal aliens.
Well, and I think that there would be a lot of debate over the fact that they went to illegal aliens. But let's keep moving.
No. That's the fact.
Okay, let's.
And you'll notice she didn't actually push back with any statistics. She just said, oh, there would be a lot of debate about that, because she doesn't have an argument to actually push back with. She knows that he's making a great point there. He said something interesting, that there may be an 800,000 downward revision coming next week. He didn't say that it's coming, but he strongly hinted towards it. And as Treasury Secretary, I would imagine that he has insight into that information. So I would put money on the fact that it is coming. And that really indicates, too, that the job numbers under the Biden administration were definitely inflated. And don't forget, a lot of people, especially on the left, or maybe skeptics or those who are more independent, are going to say, well, Daniel, Trump's just cooking the numbers, right? Isn't he just making himself look better and making Joe Biden look worse? And my point again would be, yes, Trump fired the BLS secretary. A lot of people had an issue with that. But just take a look at the latest numbers under the new secretary, the latest job numbers in August, which, quite frankly, were abysmal. There's no way to spin it. Even on Fox News, they said it was a disaster. And so if President Trump really hired someone who was just going to fluff up the numbers to make him look good, we would have seen bonkers numbers in August, right? But instead, we saw something that, quite frankly, was worse than we all expected. And to me, that gives legitimacy now to the 800,000 downward revision that we're likely going to see in the coming week or so. So as always, though, it's just my opinion and analysis. That's what's going on in the world from my point of view, and I would like to hear from you. So, yes, there are a lot of mixed signals in the economy, and I've asked various questions along this line over the last, few months. But basically, I want to check in again. Where are you right now? How are you personally feeling about the economy? Not where do you think it is, not what do you think these numbers mean, but right now, compared to last year, do you think it's easier to live financially? Do you think it's harder? Do you think it's the same compared to last year? Let me know what your personal experience is down in the comments below. Whenever I've asked variations of this question before, it's usually mixed. Overwhelmingly positive. I'd say about 70% of the people say they really feel improvement, especially in regards to egg prices. But it was really notable that it was usually people in the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, who had higher prices. A lot of people I know also watch from Chicago, also higher prices there. But I'm interested. It's been, it's now September. Have there been any changes since the last time I asked this question? Let me know your experiences down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.